Alien versus Predator, which one comes out on top? Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are putting the iconic Alien up against the legendary Predator and just seeing which one comes out on top, which one is the better movie. But let's start things off guys, let's look at the tone and feel of both movies. Alien is very much a quiet and isolated movie. It definitely takes its time getting to the main plot point, but one thing I like about this is the tagline of the movie is "in space no one can hear you scream," and you definitely feel that. One thing with this movie is these characters are really cut off from civilization, that if these events do unfold they really have nowhere to go. That alone makes the movie terrifying in its own right, and honestly just something we hadn't seen too much of before. The technology on board the Nostromo, it's actually both advanced but also quite basic in how it looks. The hallways and the deck of the ship are also gorgeously laid out, but at the same time they don't look too much advanced compared to modern movies today. One thing I personally find with new sci-fi movies today is a lot of time the advancements in the technology on these ships aren't something you can familiarize yourself with. You know, a lot of the computers, a lot of the kind of technology they have on there isn't very futuristic. It is quite basic in how it looks, but for me I actually think that draws the audience in. It makes you kind of believe this place could actually be a realistic setting, so when you introduce an alien and just something terrifying on board, it makes it all the more real. For me, I absolutely love Giger's designs. I think just the planet in itself honestly looks like something you would dream up in a nightmare. Yes, it looks epic, it looks huge in scale, but it's also a very terrifying place. At the same time, Predator's setting is also very unique. It takes place in a rainforest which is very visceral and colourful and mainly set in daylight. So that was a huge risk for the movie to take, to actually have it pretty much all set in daylight. I think maybe the last 30 minutes of the movie are generally set at night, but beyond that they're always out in the open. Now that of course can provide some challenges, but it definitely made the movie quite unique and different than a lot of other science fiction movies. The rainforest feels vast and just as isolated as what the characters are going through in Alien. Now one thing I like about this is even though the Predator is on this unknown planet, he still is kind of one step ahead of all of the characters. So the movie uses a lot of colour. It blends colours together when the alien is in his camouflage, as well as that when he's looking at them he's using this kind of infrared lighting, and even his blood is luminous green. So it does definitely play with a lot of colours. It's a much brighter movie, it's a much more visceral movie than Alien, but overall, again, what I like about Alien is that darkness. Really, it is more terrifying because of that. With the alien, with the xenomorph in particular, you don't see him for much of the movie. Instead, we're left with this kind of nightmare looking planet, this terrifying alien, and this ship that really has no way to protect itself. Overall, Alien wins this one for me just because it tends to draw you in, but at the same time doesn't give you much hope for the characters. Whereas with Predator, although the Predator is menacing, although the rainforest is definitely an interesting setting, you always feel like they can make it out. Next up, we're going to look at the score. Now, although I do really enjoy the Alien score, it's kind of operatic in how it's done. It has this epic scale to it. I do still prefer Predators a little bit more. It's just as epic, but it has more of an action feel to it, and it actually pushes the movie along quite a bit. I do think both scores are definitely brilliant, but when it comes to Predator, it's even being used today in new Predator movies. The second you hear that Predator score, you know you were in for a good time. So although I do enjoy both scores, I think Predator far outweighs Alien. As for the characters in Predator in particular at times feel like these larger than life 80s action men type characters, but I enjoy that with the movie. I actually really like the characters in Predator and just the banter that they have back and forth. They're definitely a team of comrades. Some of the jokes might be a bit on PC today, but for the most part it all still holds up. You can definitely tell they're a team, but they also have great chemistry. It's one thing a movie needs is good chemistry, and the Predator has it in spades. Whereas the characters in Alien are a lot more relatable, these kind of blue collar type characters. What I like though about the characters in Alien is they actually feel more like a family. Now what's interesting in the movie is once a xenomorph actually kind of gets out and begins to develop, that family dynamic starts to break up. So as the movie goes on, they start making decisions that really affect each other, that really kind of break down the relationships, and honestly I do find that a little bit more interesting. As for Ripley, she's by far one of my favourite characters in the film. She's intelligent, she's strong, and she fights back against the alien in a way that makes sense. She's surrounded by men who actually don't listen to her at all throughout the entire movie, so when she's the last one left, she can take the alien on head to head. Now if you put her up against Dutch from Predator, he's also a very interesting character. What I like about him is he kind of does the opposite. People are listening to him throughout the entire movie, but at the same time his entire team gets killed. So when we get to the end of the movie, it's really just him going against this Predator and seeing who is the better warrior. Now for the characters of both movies, I honestly couldn't decide which one is better, so instead I'm going to give a point to each movie. Next we're going to look at both villains of each movie. We're going to start of course with the Xenomorph in Alien. For me, I love how the Xenomorph acts. You know, it is very much a suspenseful movie over a bloodshed movie. You don't see the alien a lot in this one. He is kept in the darkness quite a bit, but it's also a very clever and intelligent character, an intelligent creature. It tends to blend in with the ship's designs, it goes into the air vents, and it just kind of tends to pop out of nowhere. A lot of times when the alien attacks, it's done actually through jump scares and really interesting ways. Whereas with the Predator, although he does also blend into the rainforest, a lot of his power tends to come from the suit he's wearing. So when he loses that suit, a lot of the dangerous nature of him tends to go away. The Predator also falls short when it comes to CGI. Looking back at this movie recently, I actually noticed that the CGI hasn't aged too well, particularly when he's trying to blend into the rainforest. It does look a little bit dodgy. Now I know this was 1987, but it has hurt the film over time. Whereas with the alien, because you don't see a lot of him, again, there are some issues in the movie where you can clearly see it's a bodysuit. That doesn't happen as much. With both movies, I do think the Xenomorph is definitely a lot more dangerous, it's a lot more cunning, and honestly I think it's a little bit smarter. As for the kills of both movies, Alien of course has a slight advantage because it has one of the most iconic kills in movie history, the famous chestburster scene. Now as well as that, has another great scene where Ash gets taken out. He is an android, so I'm not too sure if you can even count that as a kill, but both kills are top tier. At the same time though, the rest of the characters don't tend to get taken out in interesting ways. They either get kind of killed off screen or else they get killed off in the darkness. We don't see a lot of what happens to their characters. The body count is also quite low, whereas if we look at Predator, the body count is much bigger. Predator is chock full of gory, gnarly death scenes. Predator in particular tends to skin his victims. He takes their skull as a trophy, and there's a lot of bodies in it. Overall with both movies, I actually couldn't decide which one I preferred more, so again I'm going to give both points to each movie. And finally we're going to look at the story of both movies. So with Alien, the crew feel isolated and alone, battling something that honestly they've never come in contact with before without any weapons. They are stuck on this ship with this alien being, they have nowhere to go at all. Predator develops in a very similar way, but it's a lot more chaotic. These characters have weapons, you know, they are trained to fight back, and there's a lot more mayhem. I just think honestly out of both movies, Alien definitely does it a lot better. Personally, I just prefer suspenseful, subtle movies that build tension as they go, and you don't get that with Predator. Although I really enjoy Predator, I think it's a great movie, I do think it has a little bit too much of that 80s action hero vibe to it. So for me guys, if I'm going to give my last point to one movie, it's going to have to be Alien. But guys, that's just my own thoughts on which one is better. Now as I say guys, if your opinion is different, if you do think Predator is much better than Alien, make sure you let me know in the comments down below and let's chat about it. Remember guys, you can also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. If you have a suggestion of one for me to do next, make sure guys you let me know. You can also pop on your notification bell just so you don't miss any other videos. In the meantime guys, check me out on social media. If you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you click that video down below, and I will see you in the next one.